My brother got married while I was in surgery after a devastating injury, and my family blamed me for ruining his wedding. Now they're angry because my relatives found out the truth, and no one is speaking to them. A couple of years ago, I was involved in a devastating accident that has forever changed the course of my life, and by extension, my relationship with my family. It was a freak incident, one of those things you never think will happen to you until it does. I fell off scaffolding while working at a part-time job that I had taken to pay off my student loans. I ended up breaking my spine, my leg in 3 places, and a couple of ribs. It was bad, really bad. I went through multiple surgeries and a long, painful recovery process. But what hurt me the most wasn't the physical pain, it was the emotional pain I endured for my family. You see, my accident happened 2 days before my brother's wedding, a wedding, by the way, I'd planned to be the best man for. My parents had always adored my older brother, Mike. He was the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. And honestly, I didn't have any issues with that growing up. I was used to being the one in the background, the one who had to make way for his success. But when the accident happened, I guess I expected more from my family than what I got. The accident occurred while I was on the job, trying to help out with last-minute wedding expenses. I had taken a temporary gig at a construction site. Nothing too dangerous, I thought, just a few weeks to make extra cash. But during one of the shifts, the scaffolding collapsed, and I plummeted several stories to the ground. I was rushed into emergency surgery, and things were touch and go for a while. Here's the part that gets me. My parents knew about the accident almost immediately. They were called by the hospital while I was being prepped for surgery. And what did they do? They stayed at the wedding rehearsal. My mom literally told the doctor they couldn't come because it was 2 days before my brother's wedding and they had too much to take care of. At the time, I was slipping in and out of consciousness, so I didn't know what was happening. It wasn't until later that my best friend, who had been called by the hospital, told me that my parents and brother had basically chosen not to come to the hospital at all. I spent the first few days after the surgery completely alone, aside from my friends, who stayed by my side as much as they could. I was in an insane amount of pain, both physically and emotionally, because I couldn't understand why my family wouldn't even bother to show up, even just to check on me. When I was finally lucid enough to make phone calls, I tried to reach out to my parents. They didn't answer. I left messages. I texted. Nothing. I didn't want to ruin my brother's big day. I knew how much his wedding meant to him, and I wasn't asking them to drop everything and be by my side 24/7. I just wanted some acknowledgement, some sign that they cared. But instead, they made it clear that the wedding was more important than my well-being. Fast forward to the wedding day. I was still in the hospital, recovering from surgery, when I got a voicemail from my mom. She basically said, "Hey, sorry we can't come to the hospital. Mike's wedding is today, and we can't be in 2 places at once. Hope you're doing okay. We'll check on you in a few days." That was it. My brother never called. My dad never reached out. They all went on with their lives like nothing had happened. The worst part? I found out later that my brother knew about the accident the whole time and had told my parents that he didn't want any drama on his wedding day. Drama, that's what my life-threatening injury was to them. Drama. I spent weeks in the hospital. I had to relearn how to walk. The physical therapy was grueling, and every day, I felt more and more abandoned. My friends were the only ones who showed up for me day in and day out, bringing me food, keeping me company, and helping me navigate the difficult recovery. But my family, they didn't come until weeks later, after all the wedding festivities had died down. And even then, when they finally did show up, they didn't come to see how I was doing. They came to tell me how I had ruined the happiest day of my brother's life. That's right, they blamed me. They actually blamed me for having an accident that they said overshadowed Mike's wedding. Apparently, when some of our extended family heard about my accident, they were upset that my parents had chosen not to be with me in the hospital. And, of course, my parents turned it around and made it seem like I had orchestrated the entire thing to draw attention away from Mike's big day. It was unbelievable. I was lying in a hospital bed, barely able to move, and they had the audacity to tell me that I had ruined his wedding. After that, I didn't speak to them for months. I couldn't handle the way they treated me, like my existence was a burden. I focused on my recovery with the help of my friends, who were incredible throughout the entire process. My best friend's parents even offered to let me stay with them during my rehabilitation, which I did. They became my support system when my own family refused to be. Now, here's where it gets interesting. For the past couple of years, I've been keeping my distance from my family. I didn't tell anyone outside of my close circle what happened because I didn't want to cause more drama. But about 2 months ago, one of my cousins reached out to me, asking why I hadn't been at any family events for the past couple of years. She seemed genuinely concerned, so I decided to tell her the truth. She was shocked. She had no idea about my accident, how bad it was, or how my family had reacted. Apparently, my parents and brother had told everyone that I had been too busy with work to come to the wedding and that I had gone off the grid after that, ignoring all their attempts to reach out. It was insane. They had rewritten history to make it look like I was the one who had abandoned them, not the other way around. My cousin was livid, and she ended up telling a few more relatives. Word spread like wildfire, and soon the entire family knew the truth. People started reaching out to me, apologizing for not knowing what had really happened and for believing the lies my parents and brother had told them. It was validating, but at the same time, it reopened old wounds. Now my parents are furious. They're mad at me for turning the family against them and ruining Mike's reputation. Apparently, since the truth came out, a lot of our relatives have been avoiding my parents and brother, and no one wants to attend family gatherings anymore.